Hello. Today we're going to look at the Swiss knife open source Java library, which is the Apache Common. So there are quite a number of lists of Apache Common libraries, and we're going to look at the most commonly used. So let's start. So we'll create a new project first, which is of type Maven archetype, and then say we're just going to name it Apache Common apps, the version, and then the archetype, which is Maven archetype. Click create. To use or add the dependencies for all these Apache Common that we are going to try today. Okay, so I've already added the different dependency that we are going to use in this sample application. The Apache Common lang, math, IO, collection, codec, bin utils. There are still quite a few of them, uh, and we'll just try to work out with our example on these Apache Common libraries. So we'll start. So let's create first a package. Then we'll create our main app. Again, IntelliJ has a shortcut for creating the main method, which can be completed by typing psvm, then control space bar, then press enter. I went ahead to write all the some of the utilities for our testing, specifically the lang, math, the IO, config, and the codec. So we're going to see an example of how to use these Apache Common utilities. First, I just created an interface. I just named it Apache Common, and then there's a method called evaluate. We're going to use this interface such that when we use all these utilities in our main app later, we'll just need to replace the instantiated class. So let's start with lang utility. So the lang utility allow us to do some string manipulation and also numbers. So in our example here, we have the original text, and then we trim the text. So expectation is these spaces will be removed. Then there's also a utility to check if the string is empty. Then we have a number string. So for number string, there's also a utility called number utils to convert this number string into a numeric value. Wherein if the number string cannot be converted, the default value returned is 0. Then we also have a method if this number string is parsable, meaning it can be converted into a string to numeric value itself. So let's try to test this one in our main app. So we have the interface Apache Commons, and then I'll just name it Commons, and then let's instantiate the lang utility. Okay, then since we have the evaluate method that we implemented on our utilities, so we can just call this method commons evaluate. Okay, let's test this one. Okay, so we're able to see the result of the lang utility that we've created on the console. Okay, so let's go to the next utility, which is the math utility. So math, common lang math can be used for a lot of number manipulation, example of which is through the statistics. So I put here an example of exponential function and then statistics, wherein we're going to get the mean value and the standard deviation of that number. So let's just change this to math utility. Okay, let's clear the console and then run the main. Okay, so we're able to see the exponential function of 2.0 and then the mean value of the list of values and the standard deviation computed. So math utilities not only can be used for statistics but also can be used for say geometry and other math related functions. Okay, so let's go to our next Apache Common utility, which is the config utility. So this utility allow us to read a file and then get the key value of that file. So example, in what we did here, we have a config properties which has the key value pair, app name, the app max user, and then app debug mode. So on our config utility, we just read that file, and then based from when the file is loaded, we're able to get the different value, which is the app name, max user, and the debug mode. So using this configuration. So let's try this one, config utility. All right, so we're able to get the values from the config property file, and here we're displaying it in the console. So that's how Apache Common configuration works. So let's go to the next one, which is the codec, Apache Common codec. So Apache Common codec is used for string encryption, decryption, converting into base 64 string or byte, and the other utilities related to hashing. So for codec utility, in our example, we were seeing here that we're going to encode the original string into a base 64 byte. Then we're just displaying it, and then this encoded byte, we could actually decrypt it. Decode it using again the base 64 decode base 64. Then here we have an example where we hash the password itself using MD5. So let's try this one. Let's clear the console and then use this utility, codec utility. Let's run. All right, so we're able to see on the console the operation that we did on the string itself. We encoded it and then we decoded, and then we also tried to hash the password using the Apache Commons codec. Then the next one on our list is the IO utility. This utility allow us to do file manipulations. Example, what we're doing here is we're going to copy the config property file, which is here, and try to generate a file called app properties. So using the Apache Commons IO. So let's try this one. So we'll just change this one to IO utility. Take note here, we don't have the app property, so we're going to create that one using this library. Okay, so we're seeing the on the console file copied successfully, and if you notice here, there's already a file called app property. So we're able to read the file and created a new file with the same content, okay, using the Apache Commons IO library. Okay, so this is it for now. There's still a lot of other utilities that you can use in Apache Commons. You can go to their documentation in Apache.org. Happy coding!